Okay? So, is a bond worth having?
Yes.
Sometimes?
Unless your government crashes, then you're screwed.
Okay. So with Molly's savings bonds, anybody else have a savings bond? Old school savings bond?
Your grandparents.
Your grandparents bought them for you? Okay? You probably don't get to take possession of them till you're 18. But they would have a little number in the corner, right? What grandma and grandpa or mom and dad or somebody bought it for. And then over the years, it accumulates, right? So you could look up, you could look up on Google and see how much it is worth today, depending on how many years that it's been going through its cycle. Okay, so you got to remember that it will you can only accumulate so much, so you can't just keep on going. But essentially, this is what we're looking at on page 291. So you would get this little piece of paper in the mail, or when you bought it. So I know it's kind of small to see, but notice in the corners, this is what kind of bond it is. So this one would be a $1,000 bond. Now, Molly's savings bond, I suppose, could have been up to $1,000, but realistically, those were probably a little smaller. You know what amount yours were in? Either one of you? 50?
I think it was 200.
200?
250, and then it goes to like 500 or something like that.
Okay. So, I have some $75 ones still. I know there's $100. Those would be savings bonds. Not exactly what we're talking about here, but kind of. So, when we're looking at these, a bond is basically like Justice said, with the war bonds, but now just in general, a written promise to repay a money loaned on that date. So in a sense, you're buying that money, or you're buying that loan, but you're giving that money to whatever business, or in his example, the government, during wartime, to make bombs and make tanks and make whatever we needed. Well, in this case, it's the same thing, right? What would companies use this money for? In their actual company. Okay, maybe to redo some machines, maybe to upgrade, maybe to try to expand. Maybe they have this genius plan, right? But they don't have the money for that genius plan. So they sell some bonds, and then when they get it going, they'll pay those bonds back. All right? So we are the bondholders, basically, right? We can keep that bond through the due date, or we can sell it. So notice on this bond right here, the first mortgage 9% bond, Series H. Series H would be how you would look up how much it's worth. So I think the savings bonds that Molly and Justice are talking about were probably Ks or KKs, I think. Okay, so you can look that up, and you would need that series to actually look up how much it's worth. But notice this one says due February 1st, 20, whatever, because this is just an example. And then we would figure out if we get our money back, or could we actually get less? Yeah, this is where he said if your country tanked, lost the war, they probably didn't have the money, or if your business just ended up not being able to go through with that, then when they pay you back. So it's kind of like playing the stock market in a sense. It's just a different version of it. Okay? So, how you know what it's worth is this par value or face value. So if you see either one of those words in your quizzes, tests, your homework assignment, that's basically the $1,000 up there in the corner. What are those bonds worth? That's what they're talking about. Okay? It's the amount that the person owes it to that due date. And for the bonds for businesses, we're looking at increments of $500, $1,000, $5,000, or $10,000. Okay, so you probably wouldn't buy a whole lot of these at one time unless you're, got that much money, okay? So then, how do you figure out if you win or lose in a sense, right? That's the market value. This is the selling price of that bond. So at the end of that cycle, they would figure out how much that bond is worth now. You know what you paid for it, now it's what you are going to try to sell it for, okay? It may be the same price, it may not. This is where you gotta make or understand vocabulary again. So if you have a premium, premiums are good, that means you made money. So whatever you bought it for and whatever you sold it for, it went up. You have a positive number, you make money. Depending on then how much money it is per bond would be your grand total of how much you're gonna bring in. If it's a discount, that means you lost money. So here, a lot of the times we think discounts are good for us. Because if I get a discount at a store, I got it for a little cheaper. But this discount, yeah, it's cheaper, but it's a bad cheaper. Because they actually lost money. So premium's good, discount's bad. Remember that, all right? When you start going through these market values of the par value is a percent of the par value, and it's usually shown as a decimal number. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the number that's given to you and you're going to move the decimal place 2 places to the left. Because again, it's based off a percent or 100. And then you would multiply the decimal portion by 100. And if it's over 100, that tells you that you have a premium. If it's under 100, then you have a discount. And you know that you lost money. So another way of thinking about this is it's all based off of the number 1. And if I have a decimal that is 1 point something, so it's above 1, I made money. If it's less than 1, if it's 0.987, then I lost that amount. So you can think of it as just around the number 1. Okay, so, but we would use bonds, or we would get into buying bonds because we're actually trying to make some money. And we'll go through examples of showing how much we're going to actually make. But again, in a sense, we are helping out companies when we do that, when we get into bonds. Okay, we're buying into that company. We have faith that they're going to make money, but we're actually lending them money. So we're kind of going out on a limb here because we're giving our money to Justice's company. He's got a brainiac idea. He just needed the capital to put it into play, in a sense, okay? So when you do this now, normally you would buy bonds through a broker. You know what a broker is? A kind of a stockbroker, right? So there's different kinds of brokers. You could have a full-service broker. This is where you could actually go into an office and sit down with this person, and they would talk to you about it. They would set up a plan for you. Could you afford this? What's your, kind of goal for this? But those kind of people are going to charge you commission. We've talked about commission before. What was commission? What they make off of us, basically, in this situation, right? So normally when we thought about commission, this was extra pay for us in the business side of it. Now we have to pay for a commission. So not only do I have to pay for each bond, but if Carter's my broker, anytime that I make a phone call to him or ask his advice, he's going to charge me. And he's charging me the commission. It's basically just a fee. Okay? You could go through online or discount brokers. When you do this, this is basically kind of just a real generic help. So this would be on some website to basically get you to be able to buy the bond, but they're not really going to give you any advice. You would use this primarily just to buy it. So you didn't want to waste the money, and since you already were committed to it, you were gonna do it no matter what. And instead of paying Carter again his commission, then we decided to just look it up on the internet and buy it through an internet company. So they still might charge you something because they still have to, have a fee for you going through the process of filling out whatever it is through their company. But it's not going to be as much, and then obviously you're not going to get as much advice. So if you just had extra money and you kind of wanted to invest it, you knew what you primarily wanted to use it for, this is maybe the route that you would want to do. Or you understand kind of stocks and bonds more than other people. This is a thing that you could do. So essentially you would just put this money into that and hope that it made money. Again, if you're really involved in this, then you could check on it all the time. You could rearrange it. You could try buying and selling, those kind of things. Again, you could go through this discount or this online business, and every time that you would buy and sell, there would still be another fee, but it's not going to be the same thing as if you go to Carter and do the exact same thing. He's just going to charge you more because he's actually a broker. Because if I had no idea what was going on, but I wanted to get involved in this, they might put you on a certain path. They might know inside trader stuff that they could help you say, well, yeah, this is not a bad one, but I've heard this one's better. Or I can show you that they've had more growth. So if I wanted to sit down and actually talk to this person about it, then I would go and do it with the broker. If I was into researching my own stuff and using, information that I could get on the internet, then I would try to do it myself through one of these things. Okay? So when you do the second part, when they talk about finding your total investment, the total investment's not also going to include the amount of commission. And it could be a one-time fee, but a lot of times it is per bond that you use too. So you got to really know how it's added on to your bill, in a sense. Okay? Is it a one-time deal, or is it an individual bond per bond issue? Okay? So, in a sense, that's what we're going to talk about with bonds. Any questions with any of that stuff? Then let's look at some examples. So turn to should be on page 291 already. Letter A. Again, if you want to see any of this on the board, let me know. Letter A says AGL Industries $1,000 bonds are quoted at 1.03.883. What is the market price of the bonds? And are they selling for a discount or a premium? So again, when I do this, I'm going to take the number that they give me, and I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the left. So I would look at it as 1.03883. So all I did was take that number and move it 2 places to the left. Then I'm going to multiply this by 1,000. So essentially, now all I'm going to do is move it back one way. Now I'm going to move it back 3 places to the right, and my grand total would be $1,038.83. So if I bought it, or my bonds were $1,000 bonds, and now it is at $1,038, do I have a premium or a discount? I got a premium. So this would be my market value of what it is right now, and then we are at a premium, and essentially then we made $38.83 per bond. So depending on how many $1,000 bonds we bought, that's how much we would have made per bond. So if we would have bought 5 of those, we would have taken $38.83 times 5, and that would have been the grand total that we would have expected to get back as an extra or a profit. You would have to just read and notice on your bond how long your due date was. So it could be a couple months, you know, like in the wartime thing, it could have been just months if they actually needed it real fast and then knew that they were gonna make money off of it. Maybe it's a years and that kind of thing. They would, again, that's where you might wanna sit down with that broker and talk about that. Do I wanna put it into a yearly thing? Do I wanna put it into a monthly thing? Because in most cases, when you do bonds, you can't get that money back. It's wrapped up into that for that set amount of time. You know what I'm saying? So if I give my money to the bank for a specific bond, I can't get back at that money until my time frame's up. It's a really steep penalty. You really don't want to take it out because you're going to lose a lot. Okay. Letter B, basically the same thing. Okay. What is the market price of one of their $500 bonds? So again, as you can see in this case right here, if they're selling at 96.225, would you say it's a premium or a discount? It's a discount because it's basically, when I move it 2 places to the left, it's under 1, right? And so then we would take 0.96225 times 500, and it would tell us what our market price is, and then how much did we lose. Okay? So this one we would take 0.96, what was it, 223? 5 times 500, and this would give us an amount, and I believe if you did the math, 481.13, okay? And then we would, so this is what my market value is, and then we already figured out it's a discount, so I'm going to take and subtract those two, and the amount that is the difference, 1887, I lost that per bond. So again, if I had 5 bonds, I'd take 1887 times 5 and figure out how much I lost.
Why did you lose it?
The company just didn't make it work, in a sense. So in a sense, this is what my market value is right now. I bought it for 500, but it went down to 481. So for whatever reason, your great idea, it might still work, but you just haven't gotten it out there yet. Maybe you had, Corona came and you had to shut down for a little bit. So essentially, you lost that time.
So what is the point on, what number, what is that?
This is kind of like how they judge where it's at right now. So it's just based off of 100 or based off 1. This is where that number is. So if it's below it, it's just showing you that you're losing money right now. If you're losing and you have an opportunity to get out, maybe you want to get out. That's where you would also talk to that stockbroker and say, he would say or she would say, well, I've looked at things and Justice has great info saying that, yeah, he's on a decline right now, but it might be worth it sticking in there because he's going to get it to production in the next cycle. So then this is just showing you that right now it's below where you were started, but hopefully it gets above that one, the period one.
Do you have to take it up on the due date?
Do I have to do what?
Wait, take it?
Take the money? No, you could re-up again. Then basically you're just signing on another cycle of whatever that happens to be.
Do you have to pay for that, or?
Then you need to pay for it again, yes. Yes. So essentially, on the ones that you had for that cycle, you're losing 1887 and then we're starting over again. So then Justice might again sell them for $500, and do you want to take that chance again? That's where sitting down with that broker and him talking to Justice's people, say, hey, they got a great plan. I see it blowing up here in a good way, And so then he would recommend you reinvesting again at the $500, but then the next cycle, maybe it goes to 1.32 or something, and then we're making money. Okay.
What if you forget about it?
Well, see, that's where you got to be careful with the online stuff, because basically the online stuff, then they'll just keep re-upping it. but at the same price, and then they would just keep doing or making your premiums and discounts through that process. So I actually have done that before. I've totally given my brother-in-law money to invest in something like this, because he likes this kind of stuff. I totally forgot about it. And then he, for whatever reason, cashed out and I got a check. So sometimes it's nice because you totally forget about it, but sometimes, Again, these are things that you probably, if you had money, it's okay, but if you don't have any money, you're probably not going to do a whole lot of this stuff because you need that money, and like I said, it's pretty much wrapped up.
So can you just leave them and then just let them grow and then take them?
Right, so that's kind of what he said, but I would have to re-up this one, and so basically, when my cycle came up, so let's just say it was due at the end of this month. So my bill or each of my bonds would have said in January 2021 at the end, January 31st, 2021, it ends. So then on February 1st, I have to make a decision. Do I want to continue on or do I want to cash out there? And if I don't say anything, they're automatically going to say, okay, then you're committed for that next cycle, whatever it happens. Is it a monthly cycle? Is it a yearly? 6 months, a year, whatever it happens
Do
to
you
be.
pay 200 or whatever?
Well, no,
it is?
you're just not going to do anything with it. So essentially, you don't
so
have to.
You just keep it there.
You just keep it there.
Oh.
And then so like right then, it's only worth $481. So basically, if you kept it in there, you're just down $1,887, and then you'd have to make up all that money back just to get back to the 500. So, again, this would be something that you wouldn't really need that $500, and you're not anticipating that. So, you don't really care. Well, you care what it does, but you have faith that it's going to grow.
How can you tell if it's a discount or premium?
This right here, if it's under 1, this number right here is less than what I started with, so it's a discount. If it's greater than, so we bought $1,000 and now it's worth $1,038, it's a premium because it's over. Okay? So, turn the page. C and D basically do the same thing, but now we're going to try to figure out when it has commission and when it doesn't. So, in letter C, it says Clara bought 10 $1,000 XNet Corporation bonds at $97,297. No commission was shown. What is the total investment Clara has in the bonds? So basically, this is just moving the decimal place back and forth a lot. So again, I'm going to move it 2 places to the left because I want to base it off of 1. And so realistically, what this is saying is I'm going to try to buy this at a little cheaper rate than what it was at the very, very beginning, because you can already notice that it's under 1, right? When I move my decimal 2 places to the left, it's at 0.97. So I'm going to move it 2 places to the left. I get 0.97 over the other numbers. 297, okay? And what kind of bonds were they? They were $1,000 bonds. So I'm going to multiply by 1,000. So the first thing I automatically do is move it 2 places to the left. Then I take and multiply by whatever kind of bond it was. So this one's easy again because I'm going to move it back 3 places. Again, if it's multiply or if it's a $500 bond, then I just multiply by 500 there. And then it said, how many did I have? I bought 10 of them. So I'm going to multiply by 10. And the grand total that I would have spent was $9,729.70 when I bought all 10 of them. Okay. Now again, notice this one said there was no commission. In the next one, there's going to be commission, so you have to do a little bit more math. All right, letter D. Taylor Wilson bought 15 1,000 Maryville Sewer District bonds at 103.228. The broker charged $3 per bond commission. What total investment did Taylor make in the bonds? So, in letter D, the beginning part is exactly the same way. So we're going to say 103.228. Here is my decimal. I'm going to move it 2 places. So it's 1.03. So essentially, again, this is a little higher. This is a bond that's kind of making money right now. So you're gonna buy in at, or you're gonna buy $1,000 bonds. So now again, I'm gonna move it 3 places. So right now, we bought them each bond for $1,032.28. How many bonds did we buy? 15 of them. Okay, so we get a total by punching that into our calculator.
15,484.2.
Say it one more time.
15,484.2.
Thank you. But now, so this is where we stopped in the last one because there was no commission, but now it says what? Plus 45 because we bought 15 bonds at $3 per bond, right? So 15 times 3, this right here is my commission. And we're gonna add that to this price for a grand total of whatever that happens to be. Our grand total would have been $15,529.20. Make sense? So again, if it has a commission, you just have to take the number of bonds times whatever or they just might say it's a one price for commission. A lot of times it's gonna be per bond. Okay? If it doesn't have any, we just do the math. To the left 2, back or multiply, so I'm going back 3 because it's 1,000. Again, if it's 500, you actually have to do the math, because it'll be a little different. And then take that number times however many you bought.
Why would you add to the 15,400 instead of just the 15,000? She didn't invest the extra 484.
Yeah, but see, this right here is what I had to buy it for because I'm buying basically a bond that is a premium. So, in a sense, Landon had the bond. He didn't want to take any more chances. He thinks it's maxed out. You got some insider or a feeling that it's still going to go higher. So you're going to buy them from Landon, and you have to buy it at the new price though now. So that's why you have to take the $15,484. Landon basically made $484.20 on the ones that he had. Now he's selling it to you. That make sense? So this would be when you bought it from somebody or another portion of the companies that they've already made money on, and it's still then deciding if it's going to go up. Okay? Questions?
Why would people do this?
Why would they do this?
You're not making near enough money to.
Because if you made this in 6 months, you're making a lot of money compared to keeping it in a savings account or something. So basically what this means is you would get into bonds because you have the money. It's a pretty reliable source saying that it's gonna make money, and the percentage, the interest rate percentage is very high compared to a standard savings account.
So do you still have that money, or is that money not yours?
Well, you still have this money, but like if you needed that $15,000 that you invested, you really can't get at that money through that cycle period. Understand when I say by the cycle, what I'm signing up for between when I bought it and when the due date is? I really can't get at that money.
But once it's over, you get it back?
Then, yes, then basically they just transfer it back to your, so in a sense, you're never gonna, you might write a check, but you're gonna say to your bank, I wanna invest $10,000. So they would take that from your savings or whatever, move it to another account, but now they would say it's in this bond.
Oh.
And so that money's locked up though for that bond for that period of time, but you're getting 9% interest instead of 2% interest over there. But I would have to know that I don't need this money.
So people aren't doing this for their jobs.
Yeah, some people are doing this for their job.
My
Oh, you mean no, wow.
Yeah. Like the brokers are.
Yes, but people aren't, making their living off doing this, you're saying, yes, you're right. I'm making $300 more though in that time frame, because it's 9% versus 2%. So in a sense, this would be like when, I don't want to say it this way, but grandpa and grandma would pass away and they give you money. You don't need that money right now because you didn't really, think you had it. So maybe you just take that and put it into a bond at 9% interest for a year, and you would make $500 on it. Because you really didn't think you had that money anyway. Make sense? All right. So tomorrow, quiz.